I think I'm going to share more than a few words, so I think you'll have to bear with me. Thank you. Thank you to Sumit and Payal and the entire team for organizing this lovely event in Hyderabad. Firstly, I congratulate the entire team behind this event. I know these are testing times, so I'm sure you must have gone to great lengths to make this event successful. I think you guys deserve a big round of applause to begin with for all your efforts after 18 months, making this event. His Excellency, the Ambassador of France in India, Emmanuel Lenau, thank you, sir. You've been kind, you've lived up to your commitment. The last time we met, you had committed to me that you will come back to Hyderabad with a delegation of businessmen and businesswomen who could potentially look at the state with some interest in terms of investment. Thank you very much for keeping your word, and thank you for bringing such a large delegation. To the distinguished gathering, the ladies, gentlemen, I hope you're enjoying not just your meetings here, but also the hospitality of Hyderabad. In fact, I know the French, do not typically like the spicy cuisine, but I can assure you that our Hyderabadi biryani can be made in multiple ways to suit your palate. So I do hope that you get to taste it. I do hope that you get to spend some time not only doing business, but also going around and enjoying some of the heritage structures, some of the wonderful, shopping experiences that Hyderabad also has to offer. Quickly, coming to business, Telangana is the youngest state in India today. We were formed as a state in 2014, June. It's been about 7 years and a few months. But I can share with a lot of pride, I can say this with a lot of happiness, that in fact we are one of the fastest growing states in the entire country. Today, not me as a minister of this state or this government, but the Reserve Bank of India has released a recent report about a week, 10 days ago, which has clearly stated that even though Telangana geographically is 11th largest in the country, even though population-wise we are the 12th largest in India, we are the 4th largest contributor to India's economy. That goes to show you the economic might of the state of Telangana. In fact, if you look at the population statistics, we are only 2.5% of Indian population, this state of Telangana. But we contribute to 5% of India's GDP. So that clearly tells you that this state believes in punching above its weight. And the reason why we continue to do well in the last 7 years and we continue to grow fast across all sectors is primarily because of our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri K. Chandrasekhar Rao, who continues to lead the state with a great deal of enthusiasm and supported and backed by progressive policies and efficient bureaucracy. Now, what do I mean by progressive policies? The first policy that we had legislated, that we had enacted, the first piece of legislation in the new state of Telangana was back in 2014, November. The legislation was called TS-IPAS. TS-IPAS literally stands for the Telangana State Industrial Project Approval Self-Certification System. Let me just give you 3 salient features of the TS-IPAS. Those mid-sized small French companies who are looking to enter into India but are unsure of what to experience or what to look out for. This is possibly the best policy support that you can get anywhere in India. The reason why I say this is because in Telangana, if you want to start the construction of a factory, you do not need to speak to us. You can certify yourself as being in compliance with the law of the land. This is a process called self-certification. If you have a piece of land already that you have procured privately, you can immediately on day one start construction and start your factory without having to speak to any of us. Simultaneously, we require that you submit an application on the TS-IPAS portal. That's because we need to know for regulatory purposes who is doing business in our state. When we receive your application, we'll scrutinize it, and by statute, by legislation, We promise all clearances in 15 days. Well, you can obviously, say with a bit of a cynicism that, I've heard this before. I've heard it in many states, many countries. How's Telangana any different? How's your single window any different? We are different because if we don't deliver on the 15-day window, on the 16th day, it's a deemed approval. It's an automatic approval. You will not hear this in any state in India. And also, another very important thing, we believe that businesses and policies have to be process-driven, not person-driven. We believe in institutionalizing change. We do not believe in individual discretion. Because governments come and go, but businesses have to stay. Processes have to be in place. So therefore, what we have done is, if we don't deliver on the 15-day promise, on the 16th day, in fact, the legislation also gives me, the minister and the government, the ability to penalize my bureaucracy. My principal secretary, Jayesh Ranjan, is sitting right in front of me. Not only Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, who is an Indian Administrative Service officer, but also any of the officers in my department who is held responsible for the delay in holding a clearance can be fined, penalized a sum of rupees 1,000 per day till such time as the file or the clearance is done. You will not hear this anywhere in any state in India. In fact, I was in New York City back in 2015 after the policy was announced. I had a meeting with the chairman of KPMG, John Weimeyer. When I was explaining to him the salient features of the policy, when I told him, no other Indian state will offer you this, he smiled and he said, no state in the United States also will offer you this. So you might go ahead and tell the world that this is by far the most progressive policy by any government anywhere. Now that's the kind of policy making Telangana has done about 7 years ago. Now for those of you who are thinking, this sounds too good to be true, does it work? Does it actually work? Let me tell you, in the last 7 years, we have given more than 17,302 clearances so far. And we have been able to attract more than $32 billion of investment into our state, have been able to create 1.6 million direct jobs in the private sector, and at least 2 times that indirectly. And more than 80% of these investments that have been cleared have actually materialized, are operationalized, and have already begun to work and deliver. Let me also share with you a couple of other things, couple of other strengths of Telangana, not only policy. Let me also tell you one thing. When you look at India as a country, when you want to invest in India, when you want to enter India, please do not look at us through the prism of New Delhi or Bombay alone. Because India is a very heterogeneous country. India is a very diverse country. As far as foreign direct investments go, the overall policy making with respect to foreign investments is vested with Government of India. But everything else that you require, land, power, water, human resources, incentives, everything else is vested with the state governments in this federal structure. So each state in India will be different. Not every state in India is the same. Telangana by far, in fact, I'm not only blowing my trumpet, but on the ease of doing business rankings, Telangana has been consistently in the top 1, 2, and 3. The reason being, our policy works. Our policy, in fact, is extremely attractive and it delivers. When you look at India only through the prism of New Delhi or Bombay, and if you look at India as one country, I request you to engage with the states directly. Because India is more like Europe. Each state is very, very different. Everything changes every 150 kilometers in India. The language, the culture, the cuisine, everything changes. My principal secretary, Jayesh Ranjan here, like I said, he has been in Telangana for the last 30 plus years. But the language Jayesh speaks at home versus the language I speak at home are as different from each other as are English and French. So that's how diverse a country India is. For those of you who are wanting to understand how heterogeneous, how complex India is. If you only look at India through the prism of Government of India, then you would be thinking, this is one country, therefore one philosophy, one experience, and that's it. But that's not how it works. Each state is different. My policy, the TS IPAS that I mentioned, also gives me the flexibility to actually tailor-make incentives to strategically important investors. Now, what do I mean strategically important investors? If a project can be defined as a mega project, then I can offer you tailor-made incentives. What is a mega project? Any investment worth more than $30 million, or any investment which will create more than 1,000 jobs, or any investment which could be in strategically important sectors, is deemed to be a mega project. And for a mega project, I can certainly tailor-make a lot of policies. Today, when I stand right in front of you and want to tell you what else is going on in Telangana and what kind of an ecosystem we have, let me share with you some of the wonderful French companies that operate from Hyderabad and Telangana. You would be surprised to know that Hyderabad is the vaccine capital of the world, not India. You would be very, very surprised when I'm talking human vaccines. And thanks largely to companies like Sanofi, who have a significant presence here in our Genome Valley in Hyderabad, in our life sciences ecosystem. We also have a very efficient public transport system in the form of Hyderabad Metro, which is run, as Sumit pointed out, by a company called Quiero, which I'm sure many of you are very, very familiar with. We also have Saint-Gobain here, who also has a significant presence. We have a very strong aerospace and defense ecosystem in Hyderabad. Again, one of the large French companies, I'm sure they are somewhere here, Safran, also is in Hyderabad, and they're doing well. And when Ambassador said, I have zero complaints, I assure you, Ambassador, that we will keep it that way. We will ensure that you will receive no complaints whatsoever from the investors. The reason why I say this is because our Honorable Chief Minister keeps reminding us that your existing investor is your biggest brand ambassador. If he is happy, he's going to spread the word. I'll just give you one example. There is an Indian company called HSIL. They had made 2 investments before the formation of this state prior to 2014 in this region. After the formation of the state in the last 7 years, they have made 6 more investments in this state. That goes to show you the repeat investments that keep coming in from the same group in diverse sectors. It shows the confidence. It shows our ability to treat our investors as partners. It shows our ability to treat our investors and handhold them as they go through the various pain points. Let me also share with you, our information technology sector is extremely strong. If you look at the top 5 most valued technology companies in the world today, all 5 of them, without an exception, have their largest base outside of their headquarters right here in Hyderabad. Those 5 include Apple, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and Amazon. In fact, Amazon's largest campus in the world is not in Seattle. It's right here in Hyderabad. The 3.1 million square foot facility is right here. In case you're thinking, is there no French company in IT space? Yes, there is. There is Capgemini, which employs more than 10,000 people right here in our own city of Hyderabad, and also does a lot of cutting-edge work. Not just the top 5 companies. In fact, we have Uber, Salesforce, Novartis. All of these companies have their second largest base outside of their headquarters right here in Hyderabad. Why do they have it here, not elsewhere? Because not only the policies of the government, but Hyderabad is one place where everybody in India feels at home. No matter which part of India are you from. You could be from the northern India, or the southern India, or the western or eastern India. This is that melting pot. This is that point of confluence where people can come happily, situate themselves and find themselves at home. Very rare, attribute for a city in India. So therefore, my request to you, to all of you in fact, and I can go on, there's plenty of other French companies that I can talk about. Decathlon, Accor, in fact, a French company called Monin is setting up a large syrup manufacturing facility here. I can go on, there's plenty of others, but we are looking for more. And one of the things I mentioned to Ambassador is that the big boys, the Safrans of the world, can take care of themselves. The Airbuses of the world can take care of themselves because, they're large. But I think what I'm looking to do is provide an entry point into India, provide that gateway into India for the mid-sized, the smaller French companies. The reason is because you're the guys who are going to grow big. You're going to be the next Safran, you're going to be the next Airbus, and I would like to be a part of that growth story. So for that, in fact, I have discussed something with the ambassador, and I hope we can make it happen. And I do look forward to engagement with many of you. I've been told by my principal secretary that there's been some interest. Very active discussions have happened in the morning. I assure you, the last thing I'll tell you is this. I assure you, if you can tell me about your growth plans in India, if you can share with me what my competition elsewhere, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, has offered you, I'll only say this. I'll either meet their offer or will beat their offer by a mile. So thank you very much. Come to Telangana, invest with us, and be a part of our growth story. Thank you.